Welcome to another episode of the Gull Mouth Action Podcast, where we take a look at all the latest goings on at Brighton, Hove Albion and Crawley Town. I'm Matt Polt, and this week I'm joined by Brighton writers Derren, Harold and Henry Bryant, as well as first-time guest Ron Alderman, who's been keeping an eye on all things Crawley Town in Mark Dunford's absence. There have been a number of departures at Brighton this week, including a popular player who featured heavily in Albion's fairytale Europa League campaign, while Crawley Town have been busy gearing up for their first competitive game in League Two. This week, we'll look at who has bid their farewell to Albion since the last pod, bring you news of a major injury blow to a Brighton defender, and bring you all the latest from Crawley Town ahead of their season opener at Grimsby Town on Saturday. You can read all the stories we are talking about with videos and pictures online at sussexworld.co.uk/sport. And we will start as ever at Brighton Hove Albion, where fullback Pervis Estupinan has completed a £17 million move to Italian giants AC Milan. The 27-year-old defender joined the Seagulls in July 2022, making 104 appearances and scoring 5 goals. We've seemed to have been talking about Estupinan's departure a lot this summer, Derren, so I can't imagine there's been much of a surprise to his departure. But what has the reaction been amongst the Albion supporters, and what do you make of the transfer in general?
Yeah, I think the supporters appreciated that he was a very good player for the club. He joined, as you say, in 2022. He came in as a replacement for Mark Cucurella when he made his, he was about 10 months at Brighton and then made a 60 million move to Chelsea. And Estupinan came in for 15 million from Villarreal. And the first thoughts were, he might even be better than Cucurella. We've got a really good deal here. And especially when Cucurella was struggling in his initial period at Chelsea, Estupinan was performing consistently well for Brighton as well. And it was like, blimey, here we go again. Brighton have done it again. But obviously Cucurella came good for Chelsea. He's performed, at a very high level for them for the past season or so. And Estupinan has as well, to be honest. So I think overall he's been a really good signing for Brighton. And what I enjoyed most of all watching him for the past seasons was his link up with Mitoma down that left-hand side. I thought Estupinan and Mitoma is a real high quality combination between the two of them. And they really helped each other well, both in terms of defence and attack. And I think that's what they've got to now rebuild. They've got De Kuyper coming in, who's a Belgium international. They signed from Club Bruges for about 16 million. And that's the combination now that they need to get working on. It looks as like Mitoma will stay this summer, I say tentatively. I think he'll probably stay. I hope he stays. And then if he does, he'll hope to build that similar relationship with De Kuyper that he had with Estupinan. But I think he gave a nice message on social media to the fans. It was quite a heartfelt message that he posted on Instagram, saying that Brighton will like the players do. And I think he'll be always be quite popular with the fans. He gave his all for the club during his time there. And a good transfer for him, decent fee for Brighton, and hopefully the replacement De Kuyper will do just as well. Although they have Jack Hinchelwood and Ferdi Kadioglu, who are very strong options at left back as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Quickly talking about Mitoma, do you think the Luis Diaz to Bayern deals kind of killed any notion that Mitoma might leave this summer?
Yeah. That was always the link, wasn't it? That Bayern they had a few players on their radar, and perhaps Mitoma was just sort of a rung down from. So Diaz was perhaps one of their main targets, and Mitoma may have been underneath that. So Brighton fans will be keeping everything crossed that yes, that is the case. Yeah.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We're sticking with departures, and as we mentioned last week, forward Evan Ferguson has left the Seagull to join Roma on a season-long loan, and it looks like he's having an absolutely fantastic time already. How has Ferguson been getting on at Roma since his move, Henry? He's a man on fire by the looks of things.
Yeah, well, he hit the ground running, didn't he, with his new club, scoring 4 times in a training ground success over Serie D opposition. And then most recently, he marked his first proper appearance for his new club, Roma, by scoring the only goal of the game in a pre-season friendly. And I'm going to definitely butcher this name, but over Kaiserslautern in Germany. It's looking really good. It's looking really good for him. He's scoring in packed out stadiums, and he's clearly been given a lot of time and is respected with the new Roma manager as well. He's loving it so far, and it's great to see the confidence he's regaining, and long may that continue. And only time will tell, I guess, if he'll be able to make it in Serie A it's definitely a different game. And as we mentioned sort of last week, maybe the fact that he's got more of a physical presence, he can hold the ball up, might help him out in the Italian league. But only time will tell. The fan scene behind him, I mean, when he first even just sort of got through the airport at Roma, all of the fans singing his name, celebrating. And even I think it's their third kit, quite like Irish inspired. So he's had a proper welcome, hasn't he? I mean, I've not seen anyone have that much of a welcome in terms of being a young Irish prospect. And time will tell if Brighton are going to be, regretting that 40 million buyout clause. That might be too generous. We'll see. We'll find out. But it's great to see that he's enjoying his football, and we'll see how he gets on.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Continuing with the theme, Derren, and Brighton have seen a number of fringe players exit the club on permanent and loan deals since last podcast. Who has left the club permanently and who has made loan moves? And are there any players you're sad or surprised to see leave?
It's been a busy summer. It's probably worth doing a sort of a brief recap, really, on everyone who's left. So we've got João Pedro, obviously the main one, to Chelsea, 60 million. Simon Adingra to Sunderland. He went for 2021. Purvis Estupinan, who we talked about, AC Milan. Valentin Barco, he went to Strasbourg for around about 10 million. He was on loan there last season and made that permanent. They are the permanent outs at the moment. And then we have, obviously, Evan Ferguson, who went to Roma. Kel Sherpin, he was a permanent out as well. He went to Union SG. And Ofire as well, who went to Preston. The rest of them are loans. So Evan Ferguson, Ibrahim Osman, he went to Auxerre. Erin Cashin to Birmingham. James Beadle, also to Birmingham as well. Carl Rushworth to Coventry. Amara Koza-Dubry to Bolton. And Du Young Hyun, who went to Excelsior in Rotterdam, Excelsior. So they've conducted quite a bit of business already. And then pending, you've probably got Igor Julio. He's supposed to be going to Real Sociedad, although that's reports from Spanish media are saying that interest has cooled slightly on that one. Julio Enciso was expected to leave, but he's struggling with a knee injury at the moment. So any transfer this window may have been scuppered because of that. He's expected to be back in 2 or 3 months, maybe. Jeremy Sarmiento, he'll likely leave as well. And also Facundo Boniote, he's probably the one. I'm a bit torn on that one. For me, it's between him and Brian Gruder, and they play in similar positions, both playmakers, and it's who they see has got the most potential on those. Boniote has been linked with a move to Borussia Dortmund for 20 million. But yeah, I'm sort of keen to see what Brighton do on that one. Nothing's been confirmed, but in terms of sort of sad to see leave, not really. It's Evan Ferguson. Maybe he's the one I was a bit torn on, but I guess it sort of shows the faith that they still have in Welbeck and the 2 new Greek lads as well who came in. But time will tell if that decision is right or not, really.
Absolutely, and it just goes to show how cold-hearted you are, Derren. I think more importantly.
I'm a cynical journalist.
Meanwhile, Brighton defender Adam Webster is set to miss a large part of the season, and will undergo knee surgery. That's according to Brighton boss Fabian Hatzela. The 30-year-old picked up the knee ligament injury during the Seagulls pre-season training camp in Marbella. It's absolutely gutting for Webster, isn't it, Henry? Doesn't seem to have much luck at the moment, does he? How big of a blow will his absence be for the team, or do you think that they're well stacked at the moment in terms of central defenders?
Well, it's a gutter from an Albion's fan's point of view. He was quite key last season, sort of stepping in when there's been injuries in the back line. He's been quite versatile. He made 14 appearances for Brighton, 11 starts, 3 sub-appearances. And his last appearance was that final game against Tottenham Hotspur. And then when we got that news on Instagram, he said that he's absolutely devastated to be posting, but unfortunately he's going to be out of action for quite some time, and he can't explain how incredible and unbelievable the group of players at Brighton and the staff have been since it happened. So it makes you think that maybe this happened right at the start of the pre-season goings on there. He said he'll be back stronger, but he knows that he's got a long road ahead and will be behind the boys as much as he can, which will be hopefully a successful season. So, yeah, we wish him a speedy recovery there. But in terms of new recruits, and maybe not trying to be as cynical as Derren there, but I think Diego Coppola might be pushed into that first team mix fully a little sooner than planned. Maybe he would have come on as a substitute maybe in the first few games. But he's been really solid in pre-season, Coppola, and I think he's basically a like-for-like replacement. The key issue is that Webster has been very, very key in terms of Premier League experience. And I know that he might still be in the dressing room while he's recovering, but having that solid bit of backup there, I think is important, especially when you see the likes of a few of the other defenders sort of leaving the club. Lewis Dunk as well is not getting any younger, and his form has dipped recently. I feel like Webster had a better season than Dunk last season. So yeah, it'll be a big blow, but hopefully he comes back stronger than ever and Coppola is able to perform and get straight into it. But it is that risk, isn't it? As we saw with new recruits last season, it's very hard to tell whether they'll be able to adjust to the Premier League straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll watch that space. Albion made it 4 wins from 4 pre-season friendlies. They beat Coventry City 2-0 in Lancing on Saturday afternoon. Derren, there's another behind closed doors friendly. Who grabbed the goals for the Seagulls and what were the main takeaways from that one?
Yeah, it was another victory for Brighton. They've won all of their pre-season games so far. So Yasin Ayari, he got his second goal of pre-season, linked well with Matt O'Reilly again, who's looked pretty bright in pre-season. He played very well against Las Palmas, and he was, from what I saw, he was very lively against Coventry as well. So yeah, Ayari opened the scoring, and then Sima scored. Abdullah Sima, who's linked to Norwich this week, actually linked to a move to Norwich City. He got the second goal, but it was a solid performance again. And you never quite know how they're going to go. Obviously, the Championship sides they start a couple of weeks or a week before the Premier League team, so they might be a little bit further along in their preparations, and they'll be keen to, sort of beat a Premier League team, albeit in pre-season. So I think decent performance from Brighton. The concerns were there were a few people watching from the sidelines. There was no Carlos Baliba. Danny Welbeck was also watching from the sidelines, and Olivier Boscagli as well, who's another centre-back that joined in the summer. They were all described as having minor injuries and are hoping to be back in a couple of weeks. So yeah, obviously without Webster there as well. So that's maybe a concern in the centre-back areas, particularly as they let Erin Cashin go away on loan to Birmingham, and whether that has an impact on Igor Julio's situation as well with Webster's injury is one to keep an eye on. But in terms of pre-season, all good for Brighton in terms of results. They've got Southampton this weekend at St Mary's. They've got their final tune-up game against Wolfsburg at the Amex on August the 9th, and then the serious action gets underway August the 16th against Fulham.
Yes, it does indeed. And you've mentioned that pre-season game against Southampton there, Derren. The Seagulls travelled to Southampton for their penultimate pre-season friendly this Saturday. How strong do you think Albion are going to go, Henry? And do you reckon this is going to be their toughest pre-season game so far?
Yeah, I think so. They've got a point to prove, and they've also got that new manager, Will Still. He's an interesting one. The same age as Fabian Hürzeler, 32 years old, and there was a lot of sort of news around him, a bit of virality around him, because he has been inspired by Football Manager at the age of 17 to go from playing to coaching. And that was sort of the real factor, playing those sort of Football Manager games. So he's a really interesting manager, and he's got a lot to prove. They haven't had the best pre-season so far, Southampton. They had a narrow 2-1 win over Eastleigh, where they used some of their younger players, a draw to Castellon, who play in La Liga 2, and then a 2-1 loss to La Liga outfit Espanyol. But as we were mentioning, I think, these last 2 games are going to be the biggest tests for Albion. Southampton are going to be looking to bounce back straight into the Premier League, and they've done a bit of spending. They've done a bit of spending, as we've seen. So we'll see. And I wonder if Adingra will get a chance at all in terms of... that's Sunderland. My fault there. Yeah, my fault. I got that confused. Forget that bit. Forget that bit. But no, it would be interesting to see how they do. I think yeah, these last two games will be the strongest Albion sides we've seen, and hopefully Carlos Baliba will be making an appearance in that one. I would like to see Karu Matoma as well in that, and see how he's performing. And it's a very good sign for Brighton, having won all of their pre-season games, and hopefully that can continue into these last two, and they can have a good start to the Premier League campaign.
Yes, absolutely. Did you say both managers were 32, Henry?
Yes.
Oh, what's the point? What's the point in anything?
No, it's ridiculous.
Yes, it is ridiculous. Right, before things get too maudlin, we're going to take a look at the latest goings on at Crawley Town, who wrapped up their pre-season friendly itinerary last week. A star-studded Crystal Palace side made the trip to Broadfield Stadium on Friday evening with Eberechi Eza, Jean-Philippe Mateta and Daniel Munoz, named for the Eagles in a 3-0 win. Ron, firstly, thank you for joining us. It sounded like a great occasion at the Broadfield. What did you make of the Reds' performance against the FA Cup holders, and which Crawley players stood out to you?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good game, despite going behind after 90 seconds to Mateta after a defensive mistake. But, once they found their feet a little bit, they played really well. I know they lost 3-0, but there was passages in the game where they had good possession, kept hold of the ball well. Carl Scott looks a really good player for Crawley this season. I think he'll be a big positive for the team. Harvey Davies as well looked quite good in goal. Although there were 3 goals, there's nothing he could do with any of the goals really. But he looked good with the ball at his feet as part of the back three. Gives them that extra option to play the ball out of. And I just think that Charlie Barker come on quite well after that defensive mistake to let the goal in. He took over quite well when Dion came off early in the second half.
What was Reds boss Scott Lindsay's assessment of that game, Ron? Reading the post-match interview, did he seem like there were quite a few positives he took from that one?
Yeah, there's quite a few positives from that game. 7 players got a full 90 minutes, which he was looking to get in. And one of those 7 was Jay Williams, who hadn't actually had a full 90 minutes since February. So it's about 6 months he hadn't played a full 90-minute game. So that gives them a bit of confidence going into the season that he can last 90. Also playing in front of a crowd. They hadn't done that much this season. Although they played Three Bridges and East Grinstead with a slight crowd, and there was over 5,000 fans there on Friday night to watch the game. So it gives them a proper league game feel, which is something they've not had so far this season. Obviously, disappointing with Portsmouth being cancelled due to the weather, but that would have been a similar sort of thing for them. So they've only had one game in front of fans, really.
Absolutely. Crawley Town also donned their new third kit against Palace. And it's safe to say the kit is split opinion somewhat. The new shirt has a predominantly black design with a red and white trim and features an alternative crest to the usual club's emblem. Inspired by the club's nickname, the new one-off crest features a devil's pitchfork with the abbreviation CTFC underneath. I've seen the kit, Ron, and I actually think it looks quite nice. But what did you make of the kit, and what's the fan reaction been on social media? I've seen lots of, shall we say, strong opinions about the third kit.
Yeah, there has been. I actually quite like it. I think it's really nice. I don't normally buy football kits, but that would be one that I'll be looking to get hold of. I can see why people don't like it. The badge doesn't fit with the other two strips. It's just, like you say, it's just a pitchfork. It doesn't match what the actual logo of the club. But some of the comments are saying they like the black kit, but the badge is awful. I've had people see it looks cheap. It's absolutely atrocious. Someone put. I mean, I don't quite get that. No. I quite like the idea of it. I think it's obviously something different. I mean, I think the club have said that they're looking to possibly use that as a branding tool.
All right.
So they're looking to go that down that route at some point, but I don't think they'll change the badge just yet.
People don't like change, do they?
No, they don't.
Meanwhile, it was announced last week that Liam Fraser has signed for Reading following his contract expiration at Crawley Town. The 26-year-old Canadian international moved to the Broadfield Stadium in January and quickly became a fan's favourite with some impressive performances, but the Reds failed to negotiate a new contract with Fraser, and he has now signed for the Royals. What do you make of his departure, Ron? I guess it wasn't too much of a surprise considering his contract was up in the air. Are you sad to see him go, and how big of a miss do you think he'll be? They've recruited quite well in midfield, haven't they? So maybe he won't be too much of a miss?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a big miss. But as you say, Carl Scott looks pretty good and looks a similar sort of player to that anyway. Yeah, sad to see him go. But as you say, with Jeremy Kelly going as well in the summer, His contract was up. So I expected Liam Fraser to go back home,
Yeah.
but to sign for Reading, I think it's still he's definitely a League One player, without doubt. And so it's a good move for him. Wish him all the best.
Yeah.
But it's certainly, from what I saw on Friday, the first time I saw Carl Scott, he can certainly fill that gap that we're missing.
Yeah, absolutely. Carl Scott does look like a very exciting player. And as we've mentioned at the top of the podcast, this Saturday brings the moment all Reds fans have been waiting for. The first game of the 2025-26 League Two campaign. Crawley opened their new season at Grimsby, who finished 9th last season in League Two. First, Ron, how excited are you to get the new season underway? And second, how do you think the Reds will get on at Blundell Park? And who are the Grimsby danger men we should all be looking out for?
I'm really looking forward to the start of the season, to be honest. Should be quite a good season for them. They've got a tough start with Grimsby away. As you said, they finished 9th, 2 spots just outside the playoffs, but they lost in their last 5 games last season, so that's why they missed out on the playoffs at that point. Players to watch at Grimsby. I mean, they've got the former Chelsea player George McCarron.
Yeah.
He looks quite a good player. He's former Chelsea England under-17 World Cup winner as well. Zach Gillison, 6 years at Blackburn, also played for Barca Youth and Liverpool. So he looks quite a handy little player they've got there. But they've got 2 or 3. Jamie Walker, their forward, he played at Hearts, 240 games, 2 spells at Hearts with 54 goals. So yeah, they've certainly got a lot of firepower and decent players. Jason Daddy Van Thorson, Icelandic international, as well plays for them. So they've got quite a few good players. It'll be certainly a tough start for Crawley. Yeah. They've got 3 away games this season as well as to start the season.
Absolutely, and we'll get your score prediction later on. But finally, Ron, how do you think Crawley will get on in League Two this season? I know that we've spoken to Scott Lindsay before and he sort of downplayed the idea of an instant return. But looking at the squad, do you think playoffs might be a realistic aim, or do you think that they will return to League One at the first time of asking?
I absolutely, playoffs are there for them. The squad we've got, I think Scott knows how to get the best out of players. I don't quite know how he does it, but he does. A lot of people I've seen have had us struggling. I mean, I saw one earlier today that had us being relegated.
No chance.
I don't think there's no chance of that happening. 28-1 to win the league. I think that's a bit out of the question. I don't think we're going to win it. Promotion, maybe. I mean, I've seen 6-1 odds on us being promoted, so I quite like that idea. But yeah, I certainly think playoffs should be the minimum that Crawley fans will probably expect this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all shaping up for an exciting season. And for the first time this season, we will do our score predictions, where we predict just the one game this week. It's Grimsby against Crawley, as we've mentioned. Starting with you, Ron. How do you reckon it's going to pan out at Blundell Park? A good start to the season for the Reds?
Yeah, I think could probably snick a 1-0 win. It's going to be a very tough game. Grimsby, as I said, Grimsby do have players that are very good. Just finishing outside the pass, so they'll want a good start. So I think it'll be a close, tight game, but I think we'll win 1-0.
Yeah, absolutely. Derren, how do you reckon things will pan out at Grimsby?
I'm going to go with a 2-2, I think. I didn't realise, sort of just going from what Ron was saying about the Grimsby players, they look a strong outfit. So, but yeah, I think Crawley would be keen to get a good start under Scott Lindsay again. And I'll go for an entertaining 2-2.
And finally, Henry, what do you reckon? How do you reckon Crawley are going to get on?
Yeah, I think that they'll have a good showing. They'll be playing their same football that we're used to under Scott Lindsay, that got them into the playoffs in the first place a few seasons ago. I think that it will be a 1-1 draw though. Crawley to get the first goal, play well, and then maybe come unstuck a little bit in those last few minutes of the game. But I think it'll be a good performance for Crawley and a good start to the season.
We can only hope. Well, brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us this week, chaps, and thank you very much for joining us this week, Ron. I think it's safe to say that Mark Dunford's place might be under threat after your show today. Thank you very much for joining us. You can catch up with all the latest sports news covering everything we have talked about today at sussexworld.co.uk/sport. Thank you very much for listening and or watching, and we will see you all very, very soon.